Good, how are you?
Oh, look.
Did Mr. Mayfield kind of fill you in on the modification?
Yeah, I'm generally aware of it. Yeah.
Do you think it'll be an issue?
I don't know. I mean, I never really know what's going to be an issue or not. I mean, there's questions we can't answer, right? I mean, you know, big picture project questions that we don't have the answers to yet. But this is without the loan modification.
Well, I guess so.
To make the request. Yeah, ma'am. How are you?
How are you? I got James one thing too. Good. Oh, there you are. Okay. How's everything?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Good. You tried to stay away from us, James, didn't you, James Brown?
Not at all.
You tried to stay away from us, didn't you? Ha. Ha. You can't stay away. I'm not gonna let that happen. No, sir.
How's everything going?
So far, so good. Everything's been smooth for me.
I went down to Burn yesterday. Burn. Down at the Beverage.
I got
What are the names? Okay, I think I might have it. Because I looked at a draft resolution yesterday for amending the old one, but I'll double check. And I emailed you the letter we sent to Mr. October
You know where to bypass? Well, it's not one. All right. But wait a minute, look at this one. There.
Right.
All right. If a person didn't go to the right where to get, I asked them what are they supposed to do, and you were satisfied with this phone. Right, that's when well, I mean, sometimes I feel like it is. All the way down to there, I started singing used to be the same way. I used to drive big trucks. And we'd get up there and you'd have something structured or something. Flying out down the road. And they had signs up here. Bad to your left, right lane closed. People keep going, keep burning down the right lane. You get down there, at the end, you gotta go. What I used to do is I didn't have it. I put my life over the yellow lane. Yeah, damn right. They're supposed to have one over there. They're supposed to have some.
I'll call you maybe if I get done. Everything all right? I'll give you a call on my way back unless you otherwise I'll call you. Okay, talk to you soon.
Good.
Fred Stone. He used to run a jewelry store. Years ago.
Thank you.
Speak to you and say
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you.
Hello, how are you?
fine. How are you?
Fantastic.
Good, man. How are you? What's the latest? I mean, I think it's probably evident. I didn't check this one. Check it. About that month yesterday. I mean, it's probably the kind of type that will take the ranger first. It'll be ugly. Sure.
I'm fine, and you? Good. I was just telling my girlfriend, one of my other girlfriends, that I'm trying to stay prayed up. One of four of my church members are stranded in Dominican Republic in a storm. So the storm stopped, we got power going, but there's nothing traveling in and nothing traveling out. So they're trying and praying to at least be able to make it to the airport by Thursday. But that doesn't mean they're going to get a flight. They'll at least make it to the airport. So 4 of them, it's 10 of them traveling, but 4 of them go to our church, and then a couple of them are sister churches. But they just went on a girls' vacation and got stranded. So, and all of them have kids. All of them have kids. So they're like with the grandmother and with their cousins. It's crazy. So I'm like, yeah. So I asked them, I said, do you need anything? Are y'all okay? And they're like, well, yeah, for now. Because you know, in your mind, you're planning for a vacation. You're not planning for extra. But I was telling them, they charged me $200 a night. Even though it's an act of God, even though they have no control, they're still charging them per night, and it's terrible. So I'm just like, just trying to stay encouraged, you know. But like I said, the power came back on yesterday, so that's a good thing. But you figure that's $1,000 additional, basically by Thursday, be an additional $1,000 just on a room. So they have insurance, so the country is gonna reimburse them. Their insurance company is gonna give them their money back. That's what hurts me. I'm like, why are you charging people? And nobody's coming in. They can't come in, and they can That's what they did. They went from 5 rooms to 2. I'm like, oh my God. And every night, by 5 or 6 o'clock, she said, if you haven't paid for that room, turn the water off and everything. If they charge everything, if you have not paid and have to go to the counter, that's when they realize what they're doing. You don't pay for your room. 5 or 6 o'clock at night, they turn everything off. I told her, they don't do that. They don't do that here in the U.S. Nobody. It's crazy. It's horrible. So we're just like, please give us this. She don't care if she has to spend the night on the airport as long as she can get home. So it's crazy.
Now I'm glad I'm messing with you. He will. Yeah, he'll be. So we can
Come on now.
Take your whole
No, I don't want to.
all your food back. Wow. Great.
Good evening. Today is September 20, 2022. It's approximately 7 o'clock. We want to go ahead and get going tonight. Thank you for being here. Our thought for today, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. That's Stephen Covey. I'm going to go ahead and officially call the meeting to order tonight. I'm going to ask if Commissioner Sanders, if you would lead us in our invocation tonight, and Commissioner Cowan, if you would lead us in our pledge tonight.
Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight. For Lord, you are my strength and my redeemer. God, give me the words to say today, because you are the one that be glorified in your holy name. You have ordained us to sit in these positions, Father God, and to serve your people, the people that you put on this earth, God. Lord, we ask that you guide us, lead us, help us in the way that we should go, God, because your people has put us in place. Whatever decisions we make, Father God, in the name of Jesus, we ask that we do them in diligence with an open and warm heart, Jesus. In your name that we pray, amen.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. The first order of business this evening is number 4, the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. You had an opportunity to look at the agenda tonight. I seek a motion of approval, please.
So, second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda is number 5, citizen comments.
Thank you. This is an opportunity that we allow citizens to make comments about agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. If you would, please state your name and your address for the record, please. You may come at this time. You have 3 minutes to do so. Agenda topics only. Agenda topics only. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the next item we have is number 6, which is the chairman's report.
Thank you. In the chairman's report, we had an opportunity last week to meet with our partners from Northeast Georgia Regional Commission about workforce development. Had a great meeting with some of the local leaders here from the city of Covington, from Georgia Piedmont, Newton, not Georgia Piedmont, Newton, Georgia Piedmont Technical College, I'm sorry. We had a great meeting with them and their staff, and we're looking to partner more with workforce development here in our community. We also want to thank Dr. Rona for coming here. Thank you, sir. Thank Dr. Rona for coming here and giving us an update on some of the things that are concerned here in our community, such as monkeypox, COVID-19. So we're really thankful that she came out and gave us an update. Also, we had the opportunity to sit down and talk with the RL Cousin Alumni Association. They wanted to sit down and talk about some of the things that they wanted to do here in our community. And so we had a great meeting with them. As you can see, a good bit of them came, and they just wanted to talk about some of their concerns. So it was a great meeting. Also, we're thankful for, we had an opportunity to do Elijah Godwin Day, partner with the city of Covington and the Newton County school system. We had a great fuzz run. He came out, he did a great job of being involved in the community. This young man is doing great things, and so we're excited that for his future is so bright. If we can silence those cell phones, that would be great. I greatly appreciate if we can do that. Also, Apostolics which is 5G. We had an opportunity to sit down and meet with them. They getting ready to do a groundbreaking really soon here. Board members, y'all will get an invite to that. We're looking forward to that. They hadn't gave a date yet, but we do look forward to, the governor already made the announcement. We're gonna do official groundbreaking really soon. We also had the State of the Community, which went really well. Myself and Mr. Sims attended, and we gave an update from the county perspective. All the cities was represented there, and it was a great day. It was a great event, and gave what we felt was some of the important things that was going on in our community. Board of Commissioners retreat. We're looking forward to having our retreat November the 2nd through the 4th. The public will be notified, and they get the proper notification that so you guys can attend if you would like. We're excited about this, and I think it's much needed, and so I'm excited about it. Last but not least, next Friday, September the 30th, Leader is going to be doing their official groundbreaking. You guys will get an invite to that. We look forward to that. It's going to be at 10:30, and that's what I have in my chairman's report. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. C. The question I have is that I think the Oracle's Alumni Association and yourself, possibly others, had a meeting, and I would like that hopefully in the future that we would be a part of that meeting. Yeah, and the reason why I'm suggesting that is because we know that the SPLOSH committee did not fund it, so therefore I think Commissioner Cowell and myself and other commissioners, Commissioner Sanders and other commissioners, we put it onto the SPLOSH, and so we laid out what we wanted to maybe look at seeing as far as money right along with the county manager, forgive me for not including you from first off, and we wanted to kind of lay it down. For an example, it's supposed to be a 2-story building with a plan, and you take out most of the middle part. When we looked at it, Commissioner Cowell and myself, we looked at it, and we seen that beyond costing, this part that could be taken down, and something could be possibly did new, and we were looking at just 1 story, and I wanted to be a part of that, so because I think that's what ultimately revised that our cousin, historic our cousin school to as well, and if I would like to be a part of if there's any other meetings beyond the giving the citizens the opportunity to vote on November the 8th to see whether or not they want to pursue it or remodeling or whatever may come up. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Mr. Sims, County Manager report.
We will provide the electronic report to the commissioners.
I'm sorry, okay.
Yes.
All right. Next will be unfinished business. There's none.
Chairman, the next item on the agenda is number 9, the consent agenda.
Thank you. Commissioners, you had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda. There's no change, and I seek a motion of approval, please. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. It passed 5-0.
Mr. Chair, the next item that we have is item number 10, Board of Commissioners Indoor Purchasing, Parks and Recreation, requesting approval of Lowe and Associates Incorporated Professional Services Agreement Amendment number 2 for Yellow River Trail System Phase 1.
Thank you. Mr. Prime, thank you for being here. You and Dwayne.
Yes, sir. Good evening. So originally, when we basically put together our original scope of work with Lowe's Design, it was specifically tied to doing design services for a segment that had already been approved as part of the North Master Plan. We worked with that landowner for several months to come to terms with a MOU, and we struggled with that. Primarily, just it was a communication thing. So we went back and met with the stakeholders, made up of staff and Newton Trails, and we asked for their authority to look at other options. What we agreed to, that they were more willing to look at, instead of designing a very small segment of Phase 1 trail, they wanted to look at developing the easements along a larger segment of the trail, basically from Browns Bridge up to the to I-20. So we went back to Lowe Design, and we said, what would it look like if we repurposed your contract, the scope in your contract, to do that in lieu of designing a segment of it? And so the amendment that you have for you tonight takes the current fees that they had and incorporates that into developing those easements that will give us kind of the path that we can use to go out with Newton Trails and acquire that particular trail path. And the ad for $30,500 is for bringing on a surveyor who would help us actually do all the staking along that.
Commissioner, I seek a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? It passed 5-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Jeff a question before he sits down?
You can.
Jeff, can you just give me a quick update on Spring Hill Park?
Yes, sir. So we received our schematic design master plan last week. Went through with the with Parks and Rec, evaluated it, looked at it, and then we also got some cost estimating that came in. Obviously, the supply chain and estimates of cost are going up, so we're having to make some adjustments. So we're working with the design team now to look at how we can situate the design to get our best layout and balance, cut and fill.
Okay.
So our goal is by October to have some renderings that we can put up on the website and show the community basically what it's going to look like when we do Phase 1.
Okay, thank you, sir.
But it's tracking on schedule.
Listen, that's not an agenda item
I know
tonight.
it's not. I
Yeah,
just
so
wanna- I just-
before we get into the weeds of things, because
Yeah,
it's
I
not
just
an
wanted
agenda
to get a
item
quick
tonight.
update.
Just let me say, I might get it to read. I just had a simple question. Since we had moved towards that particular subject, we want to as well ask a question, if I might.
This is the last question. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. C. The question I have is, and I understand Spring Hill Park, and I think, Jeff, you're doing an excellent job, and we look forward to, if I'm re-elected, to overseeing that particular project. The question that I have is more to Wayne than you, is that we had talked along with the county manager about us not having enough money to do from the 2,000 splash to $150,000 to do the restrooms at Nelson Heights in the pavilion. So, and I understand that. So what I would like to ask here for y'all to look at is doing the new pavilion and putting lights on the old pavilion. Or maybe the new pavilion with lights and fans, the old pavilion add electricity, lights, and then fans.
I mean, we're actually meeting with them in the morning, so we'll have a better idea of pricing and what we'll be able to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're welcome, sir.
Chairman, the next item on the agenda is number 11. Cornish Creek Water Resources is requesting a modification to the existing GFA loan for the William Street project presented by the Water Resources Director, Mr. James Brown.
Thank you for being here tonight, sir.
No problem. Good evening. We're requesting to submit an application to GFA to increase the current loan for $12 billion for the William Street project to $22 million. We have increased the scope because of the age of the facilities, and we're working with the city of Covington to come up with a new design with those features being exposed.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a motion, please, commissioners?
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Question I have is that I thought the city of Covington on our intergovernmental agreement that they gave that particular piece of property, they not gave before $1 a year or something. And I was just wondering, you know, I was thinking we catch somebody in charge of it because it was some water for the city of Covington, and was managed and upkept by the county. So where we standing with that?
Well, we have, currently right now, we have a contract with the city of Covington for 50 years that also automatically renews if both parties agree for another 25. So total possibly 75 years.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda is item number 12, presented by Ms. Frida Reed, Director of Senior Services. Senior Services is requesting approval of fiscal year 2023 Transportation Services Agreement with Northeast Georgia Regional Commission.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you guys for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us. We're here requesting approval for our contract of $55,000 for transportation from Northeast Georgia. This contract allows us to pick our seniors up and to take them home. It gives us opportunity to do about 6,100 trips, which is probably 80% of the trips that we do per year.
Thank you, ma'am. I seek a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Mr. Chair, the next item on the agenda is number 13, presented by Mr. Chester Clegg, the Transportation Director. Public Works is requesting approval by the Board of Commissioners for abandonment of the roadway at Bailey Drive and Lakeside Drive. The adoption of Resolution R092022.
Thank you. Good
Thank
evening.
you, Mr. Chairman. These two pieces of right-of-way, these streets are located at 81 and 162 Salem Road. And basically they dead end right now, and they jut into a larger piece of property that is being developed into, I think the name of it is Bailey Station. And so the developers requested that the county abandon the two ends of these two streets and that jut into his property so that they can complete the development that they've submitted to the county for approval, I guess, of the preliminary plat, and they're going for their land disturbance permit. It's a little less than 1/3 of an acre total. But I've been working with Gerard and Davis and all the paperwork and putting all the pieces together and the whole process. And the first part of the process is for the board to approve a resolution to continue with the abandonment, or to start the abandonment process.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner, I seek a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So these easements have no monetary value to the county whatsoever. Is that correct?
They are county right-of-way, so it's not even really a cul-de-sac. It just dead ends. It has no public use. Whether or not it has value, obviously it has some value for the development of the property.
So let me ask you this: is these easements will it impact traffic flow at all for either the development or the people, the citizens using the roads, our road, county or state roads?
No, it will not.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor? Pass 5-0, thanks.
Mr. Chairman, we have one more item for Mr. Chester Clegg. It's number 14. Public Works is also requesting approval of the Board of Commissioners to purchase wetland credits for access road at Crowell Road and I-20 project.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
So the project is at I-20 Access Road in Crowell. We're doing a bypass project, and this is the one we've been working on for years. And, we're coming down to getting close to construction, and the project will be constructed through about 0.6 acres of wetlands. And you have the Corps of Engineers, in order to get a permit to disturb more than 1/10 of an acre, you have to do one of several things. You can either create new wetlands on your property there at the site, when that's not a possibility for us because we don't have enough property to do that. You can create off-site wetlands, or you can go to a bank and purchase wetland credits. And so in the past, and in some of the other projects, I have gone to the Wetlands Bank, and we've done some on-site mitigation. But unfortunately, over the last year, all of the banks that are in the upper Ocmulgee River Basin are closed. They have sold out of all their wetland credits. So, so the Corps of Engineers is now requiring us to go to the Georgia-Alabama Land Trust and purchase wetland credits from, purchase credits from that entity to the tune of $1 million per acre. And so, since we need approximately 0.6 acres of mitigation, we're being required to purchase $613,300 worth of wetland credits from the Georgia-Alabama Land Trust. So I'm here tonight to request that, in order to move forward, that the board approve the purchase of these credits.
I seek a motion, please. Can I get a second? Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Sanders and second by Commissioner Edwards. Discussion. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chester. And you saying that how much, once we purchase your credits, I heard you, but then again, how much money are we talking about?
So in order to get credits for disturbing approximately 0.6 acres, it's about $600,000.
Okay. So where might the $600,000 come from? For information purposes only.
It's going to have to come from our SPLOST that's allocated for transportation for the 2017.
Okay, so we have enough money there.
We have the money there. It was not, this is, I had not anticipated spending this kind of money on credits. Absolutely. Because we haven't had to do it in the past. But that's what we're facing now.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It passed 5-0. Before we go forward, commissioners, back on the consent agenda, there was a name added for to be submitted to serve on the Animal Control Board. It's not on your consent agenda in front of you, but it is. It may be on some of yours. Okay, it's email. Okay, but it is out here for the public to see. I want to make sure that it is out here for the public to see. Her name is Carla Hooper. She will be the District 3 representative, Carla Cooper. Thank you, ma'am, if you're here tonight. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being willing to serve your community. Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Hammond.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we have the next item that is listed, number 15. We have Ms. Amanda Shoemaker, our Human Resources Director, Scott Thomason for Human Resources and Risk Management, Property and Casualty Insurance.
Good evening.
Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you guys for being here tonight.
We're here today to present the insurance renewal for property and casualty insurance along with our executive summary. I'm going to go ahead and pass that out. John Beckett is the account executive on our team, and we're seeking approval to renew your insurance.
you, sir.
Thank you.
We are your consultative insurance broker that represents you in the marketplace to seek property and casualty coverage. And this year, it happens that, and we are a public entity specialist, we handle about half the metro counties. This year, we had a challenging renewal based off of market conditions. One of your prior carriers, One Beacon, they completely pulled out of the market. There's no new capacity writing insurance for public entities. And based off of your loss experience, which is outlined in this summary, the insurance company Travelers decided to non-renew your account. They felt they just couldn't cover the cost. The loss ratio was 154%, and so they felt like they couldn't get enough rate to cover it. And Travelers was doing what we call a first dollar program that is a smaller deductible. Now, we had talked early in the last year, and we have a lot of other accounts, that we have a protected self-insured program in place. And so we just kind of move things up probably 2 or 3 years, but we look at it as a long-term benefit, but the costs are going to be going up quite a bit this year. So if we look at your claims, yours were higher than expected, but a lot of it is also what other entities are suffering as well. So if you look at page 4, 2 and 3 are the summary of losses. Page 4 is a listing of we went to over 20 insurance companies to look at how we can structure an insurance program that makes sense. And we accomplished that with a program that, and a couple things that are positive is that there's been a lot of efforts done on the staff level to implement some driver control, some fleet safety, and some things that we're starting to see some favorable loss trends. But insurance companies, they don't look at 6 months or 12 months. They look at 7 to 5 years back. So with that, we were able to get several quotes, and what we put forth today on page 5 is a real basic summary of the cost structure. So we restructured it to align with some of the larger counties in the area. And it's an opportunity to really expand the risk management program and reduce the long-term cost. But as you can see in this year, the insurance cost is going to go from $888,000 to $1.1 million. And then if we add in consulting services, claims administration services, the fixed cost, then we add in expected level losses based off of your average, we're looking at a total cost of risk going from $986,000 to $1.9 million. And so we're seeking here today from you authorization to bind coverage. Questions?
I normally would get a motion, but we're going to open it up for questions because this is a substantial amount. Any questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Sanders?
I do have a question in regards to any clauses that may be in there. One of the things, my issue with Travelers, and I had a lot of citizens ask these questions and other elected officials in the counties, there was no clause placed in there to, if there are settlement cases, that they don't go before the Board of Commissioners, that the insurance company automatically, on our behalf, without us knowing, will make a settlement. And other companies actually have policy in place, or even our constitutional officers with their insurance. There is a clause that they have to go before the Board of Commissioners before any settlement, no matter what. So I would like to know if that's placed in there, because as you were aware, we had a previous case that did not go before the board, and we had no say-so of anything.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation when you deal with the insurance companies because it's really their dollar, not yours. When it comes to claim control and settlement, going to a protected self-insured program will actually allow us to set up some procedures in place so that there will be some board interaction on large claims. Yes.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Ms. C. The question that I have is I understand the process of the insurance company selling, but what I didn't understand was, when it was supposed to be kind of like kept to a certain degree behind I won't say closed door, but kept a little bit. And the paper got it, and it was fine because I believe in transparency. But what they went on to say in our local paper, they used my name and said J.C. Henderson and my other two commissioners said that we discriminate against two former employees. And they went out and allegedly said that one of our commissioners did this. They allegedly said one of the other commissioners did this. It's out offering to pay for the information they got from Travelers Insurance and Selling. They used my name, but they never said what I discriminated on. I never was, if you're gonna release something on me, it's two sides, in my opinion, on everything. And they was, I guess, what I concluded, myself personally, that because three commissioners of color did not renew a contract then for the former county manager, then that's discrimination. And I couldn't understand if that being the case. The second case that I just discriminated against the former attorney from Gerard and Davis, and I made a motion to save her. I just didn't go back with, after a substitute motion that was did by my colleague, Commissioner Cowan. I said, well, if you're gonna make the motion, then I just rescind my motion, you make what motion you wanna make. And that's what I did. And I couldn't see the discriminating part. So I guess what I'm asking, and I thank you for coming, because I probably had to wait till the end of the meeting to kind of state, what I'm asking is I want either you show me what I done, this board of somebody, Patrick, of somebody, show me in writing what I done and how I discriminate against the two former, one county manager and our former county attorney who worked for Gerard and Davis. I think you owe me that if you're gonna put my name in the paper and accuse me of doing something. So this is the only thing I could understand. But, and this just, I guess, more a little of me just getting out what was in me. Thank you.
Well, let me clarify that we're Gallagher, we represent you in the marketplace. We are not the insurance company. We're not the ones that make the decisions. We're your claims advocate and advisor through the claims process. I can't comment on a specific, issue. I think that it does come to what we're proposing today is you're going to like a little bit more control, but we also do want to know that at the end of the day, the insurance company, if it's their dollar, it's their decision. We want to have input, and we do want to have control under a protected self-insured program. You're going to have a lot more control. However, we do not want to have every little nickel and dime claim come to the board. That does not make sense. That is not best practices, nor what we recommend. We recommend what we do with some other accounts, which is to set up some protocols and procedures in place between the staff level, county manager level, and then working with the attorneys.
I think there was over $500,000. And maybe because I'm not as rich as some of the people are around this horseshoe or in the audience, that's a lot of money to me. But my question is to our county attorney, Patrick, is that I'm asking him to go to the whomever it is that he need to go to and ask them to get the paper to retract my name from that unless they can show me why I discriminate against somebody. I think that's only right. Well, they may not do it, but I'm asking because we sell them. It wasn't the other folks. It was the county who sell them and put my name in it saying that I discriminated, and I did not.
Thank you. If you rescind a request, we'll take it under advisement and respond.
County attorney. I think it's more or less his job. Excuse me, I'm sorry, y'all. It's more or less Patrick's job to kind of straighten the wrong that has been done. And I've been here lately, in an election period, it's been a whole lot of them three-letter words, and respectful to the women in the audience. The three-letter words that have been put on me from a stove to, a stove to two kids that play sports on it. And it gets to the paper, and then we have to do open requests. So I want this to clear my name, at least on this, or show me what I did, how I discriminate.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for providing this information to us. This data is exactly what this board needs to see. This may be a question for our finance director or our county manager. How is this increase in this particular budgeted item is that going to negatively impact our budget at all? Or is this something that we as a county will be able to successfully implement to be able to allow our risk management to move forward in this direction, and it won't be a huge negative impact on our budget?
Brittany, can you come up, please?
And I could comment that I've taken probably 5 or 6 entities to a protected self-insured program over the past 7 years. And it is a process that it works out. Usually that first year, it should be where it doesn't negatively impact your budget in a large way, because those losses have not occurred yet. So that big number that you have there is projected losses. Your trends have been favorable, so it's going to be a lot less than what we think, but we have to tell you what the numbers say so that we have a starting point and we can build a self-insurance fund similar to what you do on the workers' comp side.
Thank you. Mr. Sims, you want to jump in right quick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add that we had several meetings with Scott and his team, and the numbers, as Commissioner Mason mentioned, were based on data. And if you look on page 3, you will see it is reflected for a 5-year, not just one incident. So this information is reflected for 5 years. Brittany and I also met, and we have a solution to address this increase.
So I guess that's the question I have an answer to. What is that solution that you all have concluded? Oh, this is it right here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So Amanda did pass out a budget transfer. This obviously was not a budgeted item because at the point during the budget, we did not know what the increase was going to be. We had budgeted around 1.1 million for our insurance premiums, and we're looking more around what, 1.9-ish. So we're going to amend the budget. So we have seen an increase in our loss collections, more than what we budgeted. We've been seeing roughly 100 to 125,000 extra a month. So what we're going to do is we're going to amend the budget to increase our loss revenues, and then we're going to offset with an expense in our insurance claim line item.
So with that being done, we should still be in a good place from a budgetary perspective.
Yes, but this budget transfer will take care of that.
Excellent. That's all I want to know. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Sanders.
This question is, I just asked him previously, but I wanted to make sure that our county attorney thoroughly looked at the actual policy, because I would like to see it myself, because it is my concern that certain suits or whatever may come before us are taken out of our hands. And then we're as I'm not going to expound on what Commissioner Henderson was stating, but that is a huge issue, that we're thrown out there and we're not protected and things that we have no control over. So if we have an insurance company that have those clauses in there, that things do come before the board, and I would like to know which cases will not come before the board and which ones will come before the board. I would like to know that, because that's also protecting the citizens of this county and the officials that sit in place to do policy.
Commissioner Cowell.
I have a question.
Oh.
So that's all going to be formulated. The policies are not in place. We'll review all of that because that detail is new. We'll certainly work with the insurance team. We'll work out all of it.
Yes, we've already started the process. We have best practices and recommendations to provide to you. We've done it with some other counties, and we'll provide that information.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cowell.
Okay. You want to put together a self-insured plan for property and casualty and general liability and things like that. I want the board to understand, if we have another year like we did before, you will break that bank. That's county money that's going to be set aside. We're going to pay a premium for insurance, but the cost to pay the losses are going to come out of that fund. Is that right?
Yes.
That's the way it works. I know how it works. Now, we don't have sovereign immunity in Georgia anymore, except in limited circumstances. I would suggest y'all be very careful about taking actions on things, listen to your county attorney, and try to make the right decisions. Now, as to whether Travelers made the right decision or not, it's their money. It's just like they're the ones going to put the money out, they're going to pay for it. I suppose the reason you're coming with a self-insured plan is that nobody wanted us. I would think that.
Yes and no. It was the problem is that the number of markets that want to insure public entities has shrunk in the last few years.
They always do, yeah.
And just because of that, we look at the cost would be exuberant and would not make sense. The program we put together is what we do for some of the other counties that are larger. I think that with the growth that you had and the growth that you're incurring, that this is the best long-term solution. And now you have, risk and a lot more risk involved, but it can be fruitful, and it's a good way to do a reset. Yeah. We've seen success with other entities. We recently published some white papers on perspectives of sovereign immunity, contractual insurance guidelines, so that we really elevate your risk management program. And that is from the board level, the county senior staff level, down to the department heads and to the line workers about understanding immunity, how it is being eroded, but also, well, what do we have immunity for? How does it work? What can we do to enhance our risk management program?
Right. Now, again, I'm just asking everybody on the Board of Commissioners here, any county employee too, be careful about the decisions you make and make sure they're based on good legal authority, because $1 million sounds like a lot, but it's not in terms of insurance. It's really not.
I have a $40 million claim in the area.
It's not a lot of money. They run very high, and somebody, Patrick, I know knows about it. I deal with litigation too. $1 million set aside in a self-insured plan is not going to be enough money. It's going to have to grow over a period of years to where you can pay for it. It's going to be something, Brittany, you've got to keep as a, and you can't let the Board of Commissioners touch it. Can't let them touch it. That's got to be set aside and protected. So put it somewhere where they can't get their hands on it. So that's all my advice. But I'm fine with a self-insured plan.
I want to make sure that we do understand as a board also, this is just don't affect the BOC and the people that sits around this horseshoe. This is affect the constitutional officers as well.
Yes.
Any accidents, any lawsuits, I want to make sure that you make that plain to the board, because that will pull from that pool as well.
Yes, it protects the constitutional officers as well as the board, public officials' liability. What is not included in this is your law enforcement liability. That is a separate policy that we do not place.
Okay. Had Commissioner Mason first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to say thank you for putting that in an additional way that we can look at it from a completely different perspective. I think sometimes when we have issues like this that come before the board, we automatically gravitate to negativity. I think what I would suggest that this board do is look at where we are and say, how do we move in a more positive direction? Is this a solution to move into a more positive direction versus focusing on what's negative and what could have happened or what should happen or what did happen? Where are we? And how do we move forward to ensure that we're not in this place again? And like you stated, there are other counties that have had to go into this particular type of insurance. And you've seen over the long term there's been a level of success. I can agree with my colleagues. Yes, there are certain times where we have to make the tough decisions. And sometimes those tough decisions have to be made. And yes, we want to listen to our legal counsel. Yes, we want to listen to all the subject matter experts that are around us to help us make those decisions. But I don't want us to walk away from this particular subject matter with fear, saying that we should not lead and that we should not govern and that we should still be the governing body that we were elected to be in doing the right things and moving in the right direction. So thank you for putting that in a completely different perspective, moving in a positive direction. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. Nothing? Okay.
Commissioner one more comment.
Hold on 1 second. Let me get him. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I see we have a pending quote on the property side. My agency writes quite a bit with Chubb, but I know they're slow. But they didn't meet our deadline.
They provided terms yesterday, and there are clauses in there that are not acceptable.
Okay. One other thing. So help me understand. I know we don't. I see where you tried to attempt to quote the excess for the umbrella. So in essence, are we doing without an umbrella type coverage and going the self-insured route? I mean, how does that?
Great question. Traditional insurance, you buy a primary policy for $1 million, and then you buy an umbrella above that, $4 million above the one, for a total of $5 million. The way an excess casualty program works is you just have $5 million, so it's a combined limit.
Okay. So
it's cleaner.
The last one I have is there an E&S market for governments? I mean, and if there is, did we check into that?
The answer is no. Not when you have to unbundle every line of business. We started that approach, and it's extremely limited for public officials coverage and auto. None of our other accounts, none of them are in an E&S market for property and liability coverage. So the excess casualty coverage actually expands the number of markets we have access to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Just going to say thank you to Mr. Sims and Mrs. Shoemaker as well as Ms. Maxwell about having enterprise risk discussions and establishing a committee, an internal committee that we have, talking about risk management and elevating it. Thank you.
Thank you. Guys, let's take a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
And this is just for informational purposes only. Typically, when we have to make a decision similar to this, radio insurance, some type of retirement plan or whatever, ACCG typically has something in place. And so I guess I'm asking, where is ACCG at now?
Well, we consulted with ACCG, even in terms of looking at products for us. And at this point, this is what we were presented with in terms of the policies that Gallagher has presented. ACCG, we do consult with them for risk management services, and they have been excellent. But in terms of providing us, if you're asking providing us with additional quotes, they would not provide us with any because of the claims. But we did consult with them.
Thank you.
Just one last follow-up question. So are they providing any other counties or that you know of? I mean, I'm just asking.
Yes, okay. But we asked them specifically for this year, okay. And we had no luck with that.
Guys, I think no, I already got a motion. Any more discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the next item that we have on the agenda is number 16, presented by Attorney Patrick Jogstetter. Board of Commissioners consideration of Resolution R 092 022A, terminating license agreement, authorizing existing encroachments on 25-foot unnamed road in favor of Hazelrake family.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm ask Brian if you would scroll down to the bottom page, the last page. On Birch Road, adjacent to Jackson Lake, there's a small strip of land, a small 20-foot wide strip of land between 160 Birch Road and 142 Birch Road. On the map on the screen, it is at the very bottom. It's the narrow strip at the bottom of the survey. That strip appears to potentially be owned by the county. Back in 1990, no, I'm sorry, back in 2010, if you would scroll up, the county granted to the owner of 160 Birch Road the right to utilize that little strip to build some improvements, primarily a retaining wall, a driveway, and things that went with that. A condition of that authorization was that the property owner at 160 Birch Road properly maintained the stormwater running off from Birch Road. Obviously, the road, it's the road, homes, and the lake, so obviously the water flows downhill from the road to the lake. Over the past year or so, the stormwater running across that strip of land off of 160 Birch Road and off of Birch Road itself has caused substantial damage to the property on the other side of the strip, which is 142 Birch Road. The reason we're here today is to request the board to authorize me to terminate that license agreement. The page 2 of that agreement, if you would look at section number 2, calls for the license to remain in effect as long as the owner of 160 Birch Road properly maintains stormwater. It also authorizes the board to terminate the agreement at any time with 90 days notice. We have asked Chester Clegg and his folks to go out and have a look at the property, and they have concluded that the stormwater is not being properly managed. They've recommended that a professional engineer perform a review to determine what needs to be done, and that's what I'm going to do. If this board authorizes me to terminate the license agreement, I will make that termination contingent upon the property owner's successful completion of proper repairs. We will probably put a very short time limit on it, something in the neighborhood of 60 days, to require them to retain an engineer and repair the property so that the damage does not continue on 142 Birch Road. My understanding is that the owner of 142 Birch Road has had an engineer conduct an analysis on their property, and their property is suffering real harm. So that's the request. This is a serious problem. It's not a problem the county has created, but it is a problem that we can at least extricate ourselves from by denying this individual the right to maintain the improvements which are causing the problem. If you do authorize me to terminate the license agreement, the property owner at 160 would be required to remove his improvements and return the property to the condition it was in prior to the placement of those improvements. And that's the request for you tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. We'll get a motion, please. Guys, I seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, this time I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution R092022A as stated by the county attorney.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? Commissioner Cowan?
Patrick, who would ownership of that property go to? County?
Well, whoever owns it now will retain ownership. It's that little strip of land, the ownership is a little bit unclear.
They have a license to do encroachment.
The county granted merely a license, so we retained title, we retained ownership, we merely authorized them to utilize it.
So the county will maintain ownership?
We will.
Who's going to do the stormwater?
Well, the agreement requires that the property owner on the adjacent property owner at 160 remove his improvements. And if it's left to that point, I suppose it may be up to the county to take some measures to ensure that the water flows down. But if the improvements, which you can see on the sketch, is the sort of the shaded kind of hand-drawn area, it's a driveway and a retaining wall. It would be my expectation that if you remove the driveway and the retaining walls and and put the dirt, put the land back in its somewhat natural condition, the stormwater problem would probably resolve itself. Probably not the entire stormwater problem that the neighbor is suffering, because I think there's some portion of that stormwater problem that's not the result of this situation. But
Or he can make the improvements to keep his driveway, right?
if he does so pursuant to if our engineers approve it and he has a professional engineer, yes. But we will provide him that opportunity.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Ms. C. The question I have is County Manager Sims. Did our engineers look at this?
Yes, sir. Chester Clegg was involved with this.
That's it? All right. Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, I have here the licensed structural engineer report on the neighbor had done. I've personally been out to this location a couple, 3 times, while it was raining once. There, on the 160 Birch Road property proper, there's water coming off the street onto his parking pad, and then his parking pad, it dumps down onto the concreted the now concreted easement, and it just flows into right into the neighbor's home, literally into the home. So, and the report would show that. This is not an issue that is just a year old. This is an issue that has gone back quite a while. The neighbors have tried to work with this particular landowner or this property owner, and there's just no go. So I asked the county attorney for solutions, and this is after a lot of research by both Chester and the county attorney. This is where we are. So I'd ask for your support of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Guys, let's seek a motion. All in favor? It passed 5-0. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the next item on the agenda is number 17, County Manager of Finance, requesting approval of our parametrics task order number 1, ARPA Rescue Plan Act Grant Management Services.
Thank you. Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have our parametric attorney, Kennedy Shannon, as well as the team here to present their request for approval of task order number 1.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How's everybody?
Great. How you doing?
Great. So in front of you guys is a task order. Last time we met, we discussed what you wanted to be priorities for us to take a look at. So I included that in this task order. As you know, we have a do not exceed amount, I think, of roughly over $400,000 for the course of the engagement, which will take us to close out of ARPA, which is 2026. So this particular task order was just the estimate number of hours we think it'll take to accomplish all of those things that are listed. Once we get to that point, or if we get to an end and we need to come back, we will come back before this body and ask for additional money towards that 400 and something ceiling. But I think that list pretty much encompasses everything that you wanted us to do. Included in that would be our recommendation to come and do physical audit of the organizations that have received money already. So we will actually be here at their location looking at their files and books and things like that. So that will be included in that particular task order. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have about it.
Let's get a motion on the floor. I seek a motion, please.
So,
thank you, sir.
second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason, and I don't know who seconded it. At the same time, I'm gonna give Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Yes.
Thank you. I remember last time you was in front of the horseshoe, we were talking about the commissioner's request, and I just want to know where we at on that, and when might we know what those projects that that was given that might be looked at and maybe either administered or saying that they may not qualify for the Arthur funding?
So I'm glad you asked that question. So in looking at the current allocation to each commissioner, it would be our recommendation that each commissioner put their money into program that's countywide. So as it relates to the nonprofit assistance, I know each commissioner kind of chose nonprofits that they wanted to assist. If we have a countywide grant program that can address, or any nonprofit can apply for, I think it will allow issues that we've addressed earlier with the conflict of interest to be alleviated, because there will be a defined application process, there will be a score attached to each application, and then that would drive how a nonprofit is awarded money, as opposed to it being the single decision of any individual commissioner. And that would alleviate any perception of a conflict of interest, if you will. I think it's the fairest opportunity. That would allow Commissioner Henderson, the organization that we discussed earlier that your son runs, he could apply for that with no problem.
But go ahead, I'm sorry. I just had a comment.
Commissioner Saunders, the sorority and fraternities that you want to fund, they could apply for that program with no issue of conflict of interest. They could all be eligible for up to that $20,000 that we've determined to be the max for nonprofits. As long as they can demonstrate whatever ARPA requires them to demonstrate by way of nonprofit assistance, which is a reduction of gross revenue, or them being in a qualified census tract and having some type of hardship due to COVID, we could provide them a grant. But it would take the onus of the individual assistance being approved by one commissioner out of the picture, and the final rule actually describes and prescribes this as the best way of doing that to prevent any perceived conflicts of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I may,
yes.
And I brought this with me. Part of the paperwork that I gave you, it was, make sure I get it exactly right, for the programs that I suggested at Nelson Heights. And it was A+ enrichment services.
The
and
tutoring?
So, yes.
Yes.
And but yet, I think when you did the virtual meeting, and I was online look into it as well, we never mentioned it. A+ is not my son's.
No, I got
Anthony,
you.
yeah. And so I guess what I'm saying is, are you saying that the motion that we made, Board of Commissioners, made and allocated $1 million to each one of the commissioners, they said, well, no, they don't count. Said, but what I'm asking y'all to do is then put that all in a big pot and do it this way. And I thought, and I guess somebody correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why we asked for a consultant was to make sure that the money that we were spending through the districts, the $5 million, $1 million per district, to make sure that they was being spent right.
Absolutely.
But we came back. I know she came back with a conflict, and I could understand that. And reason why I could understand it, because I talked to several attorneys, I think about 5 or 6 here in town, and the 5th went over, and there was no conflict with A1 services, tutorial services for Nelson Heights. But yet now, I know you didn't set my son. So I think there should have been a little bit of maybe talking with me, and I'm just speaking for District 4, talking with me, so we could have got it straight. But I think, and I noticed in the conference that you had, and you said his son, and you didn't know me a bit from Adam, nor my son, and you said his son. So I think there was some information, at least the way I proceeded, if where somebody had told you, but that was not the case. And if you remember, I gave you this piece of paper.
You did.
And so the only thing what I'm saying is that, and I guess this is Patrick. So are we now, if the Board of Commission make a vote and approve it, we coming back now, we're gonna change it. How do you change it if it's gonna be changed?
All you're asked to approve tonight is the task order to let iParametrics make these recommendations to you so that the board can act on it. That's
and for clarity, this is just a recommendation. What you voted on is the law, right? All I can do is give you a recommendation based on ARPA compliance. You're right, that organization is something that can be funded via ARPA, right? It's something that can be funded because it's a nonprofit. I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is a better way of funding that, as opposed to it being a direct allocation by a individual commissioner, would be to take it into a program that every nonprofit could apply for, right? Because there's more than enough money to go around, and we would be able to fund that organization, but it wouldn't be a direct allocation from you. It would be through a general program that has structure set in place, so they would still get funded. So again, everything that I come to you with is a recommendation. I can't make you do anything.
But I just want to just say this: if the board, and I may be wrong, if the board had not wanted to be those money allocated by the commissioners, I think they probably would have told us. We should have said it. Should have said it then. And I don't like going out in the community. I don't. J.C. Henderson don't. And saying that we're going to do one thing and everybody agreed on it, and then we come in now saying we're going to change it. Let's spend at least those $1 million that were appropriated by the district commissioner. If the other commissioners want to do it, spend it the way we anticipated. And I would hope that you would say that either we can't spend it that way because of there may be some sort of conflict, or say, well, you can spend it. And then maybe the rest of the money, if the board so chooses, the rest of the money, then we may do it the way that you may suggest. But I would like not to change what we already had done in the people that we want to give it to.
Absolutely.
Some type of sort of conflict.
All I can do is come here with my professional opinion as your consultant, right? And I will put that opinion in a memo in writing to let you guys know, because it's on me if I don't tell you, right? So taking that into account, that's all I can do. You can take that information and act. But either way it goes, I represent you. So if you choose to keep the individual authorizations per commissioner, I'm going to make sure that that program is a success either way. I'm just saying it's a better vehicle, and it would require, I think it would end up being less scrutiny from the Department of Treasury if you do it a different way and you get the same result.
Yes, ma'am. And I just one last comment. I'm gonna be quiet and get off and get off this. But I remember, Ms. Kennedy, what you said when you first got here. I remember that because I wrote it down. And you said whatever y'all want to do, I just want to make sure that the money is being spent and they wouldn't ask you to repay
it back. Absolutely.
Okay. So when you were saying in that meeting, and I sound a little redundant. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Sound a little redundant in that meeting, and you said there was a conflict about my son. It was not, because first of all, he knew anything about it. Second of all, I had to allocate the money under some attorneys who know about it and said, well, as long as the money is not my son, we allocate it to, and I wouldn't quite allocate it to him. As long as it went to another nonprofit that could administer the program, and if they were reputable nonprofit, then there should be no reason that it couldn't be done. But now you coming back, and we'll vote on it. Then you come back and say, well, no, we don't want to do that. What we want to do is simply change the whole way around. Let's finish. I believe, and I could be wrong, and I'm just one commissioner. Let's finish what we started, because I think Commissioner Cowan, he may have given his whole $1 million to the courthouse. So in other words, should be a whole blanket. We can change it what everybody do. If that's the case, recommendation. Rather than us allocate the money to specific organizations.
And you're right. What I'm trying to avoid is, and I'll give you an example. Say that example, you want to do that particular organization within your district you want to fund, which is ARPA eligible. Say I'm a nonprofit in your district and you didn't select me to get funded. I can say, well, why did you select that nonprofit and not me? All right? And you've got your reasons for that. And that then opens the door for an argument of a conflict of interest, is all I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
But if there's a program, right, that every nonprofit can apply to that has the same eligibility criteria throughout the county, nobody can make that argument. Either as a nonprofit you applied and you got it, or you applied and were denied because you didn't meet eligibility. But either way it goes, nobody can come back to you individually and say, why'd you give it to them and why you didn't give it to me? And that's all I'm doing, is trying to protect you all from an auditor standpoint, because that's a question I would ask.
Yes, ma'am. Give me another $1 million. I'll make sure everybody in the county got some money.
I wish I could.
Give me another $1 million.
Mr. Sam.
And I'll make sure everybody. But anyway, make a long story short, thank you.
Mr. Sam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to emphasize that our paid, hired consultants are doing their jobs for us. With recent incidents occurring, I did reach out to our consultants to ensure that we are going to be in compliance, and what Attorney Kennedy is stating is just giving you all some recommendations to also accommodate you all's requests, the individual requests. But we want to make sure that our consultants who we have here today are doing their jobs.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So basically, and thank you once again for being here.
No problem.
We appreciate your expertise in ensuring that we are moving in the right direction. And I appreciate you wanting to ensure that this particular board is protected.
Absolutely.
So basically what you are saying is even those nonprofit organizations that we have already selected can still apply and still be able to qualify. Absolutely. Even if it was just into one bucket and not 5 different buckets.
Absolutely. By having one countywide project, it's open to all nonprofits. As long as they can show eligibility under the ARPA rules, any nonprofit can apply and get that assistance. So I would be able to essentially, assuming your nonprofits on your list meet the eligibility requirements that you guys will put in place.
Correct.
Get them funded. There would be no reason why they wouldn't be funded if they meet eligibility requirements. So all of those organizations you've identified would definitely be funded, in addition to other organizations in your community that will want to apply for that funding, is all I'm saying. So I just think that's just the better route. From my perspective and my professional recommendation and my reading of the final rule, that's a best practice. And that's what's going to get you less scrutiny from an ARPA auditor, which is my goal, right? I want them to come in here and give you guys a clean bill of health and keep it moving. But you know, when you start bifurcating money and have single authorizations, they start digging a little deeper. And all I'm doing is trying to protect you all. That's all.
And I appreciate that, and I agree. And I would strongly encourage this particular board to really consider what this consultant is saying, unless you want to end up behind bars. So you make your choice, whether you want to end up potentially behind bars or you want to listen to the consultant that we have here and adhere to what the recommendation is saying. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you so much again. I appreciate your commentary as well as us going back and forth and you providing me information. I just want to get clarity of what you're stating, because I do agree with Commissioner Henderson and also a little bit of Commissioner Mason states. We did vote to allocate those funds in our district. And some of those nonprofits in our district do a service. They do provide a service. And some of them we actually allocated are not even in our district, but they do something within the county. So that's one of the things that I agree with that. If we're going to allocate funds and that nonprofit happens to do something in our district, and that's what we're seeing based on a commissioner where we see their service in the community, I don't see an issue with that. I don't think nobody wants to go to jail. That's not even an issue here. But I do suggest that maybe speak to the Commissioner 101 that has the allocation and maybe talk to them first to see, hey, give us suggestions that way. And then it can happen a little bit better and a little bit more quicker. It can happen, kind of like when I asked a question for you, you kind of gave me information.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
So maybe talk to the commissioner individually. When you speak on putting it in a pot, my only concern is if that commissioner is wanting to allocate those funds to that nonprofit that's providing that service, they are going to apply. Well, they have to go through the process anyway to get qualified and all that anyway.
Exactly.
But the issue is they're going to be competing with all the other, got louder here. They're going to be competing with all the other nonprofits, which is a possibility they may or may not get serviced. You see what I'm saying? If it's going into one big, huge pot.
Well, that's the thing, right? You guys have quite a bit of money that you want to put into nonprofits, and by putting that $20,000 max, that allows you to service quite a few nonprofits. So I don't necessarily think you're going to run into a situation where there's going to be fighting amongst nonprofits and somebody's not getting funded. I think there may be situations in which a nonprofit will not be able to prove what ARPA requires them to prove by way of financial documents to show that there's a financial hardship or being eligible through some other eligibility criteria. But absent that, you guys also have the ability to put more money into that program if you see nonprofits that did not get funded that meet the eligibility criteria, and you have quite a bit of money still sitting over to the side. So I'm not really worried about that, just to be honest. You guys have quite a bit of resources for your community, and and even doing it countywide, I think oddly enough, your district and Commissioner Henderson's district would actually benefit probably more so than other districts in that you guys have all the qualified census tracts. Most of them. So your nonprofits would get priority because they're in a qualified census tract. So in actuality, it would benefit the nonprofits in your community, I think, a little bit more outside of those communities that don't have qualified census tracts, because that's something that's dictated by Treasury, those particular census block groups. And they're based on the neighborhoods that are in most need financially. So.
And I think my only concern is I don't think the commissioners who are not on the committee know how many nonprofits actually already applied. So that was my concern. We actually know the numbers of the nonprofits and small businesses that apply, and then when you put it out there again, because we're going to put the application back out there again,
right.
Now the word is going to get out even more. So that was my concern as far as those nonprofits that we did want to make sure that they were serviced, may or may not, it's a possibility, because more nonprofits are now hearing about it and they're going to apply.
And you can, again, we still not really built out this nonprofit grant program yet. So whatever eligibility criteria you want to put in there, you can do that. If you want to target more of the grassroots nonprofit organizations as opposed to the big ones like the United Ways and stuff, and you want, because they get enough federal funding, right? It's the small mom and pop nonprofits that don't get this funding, and this is transformative to them. So if you want to put a focus on those type of organizations, absolutely you can do that. So it's just once we get a criteria in place, then everybody follows the same rules, the same process, so nobody can come to you and say, oh, you gave this organization money and you didn't give them this one. I can literally point to a packet to say, this is why this organization got funded and this is why this one didn't. When you guys make the decision, there's really nothing you can point to if somebody comes and lodges that accusation of, why'd you give them money but not me? I'm just keeping it real.
And my last question, how did the other counties, because there are counties that actually did what we're doing right now.
Yes.
And did not get any scrutiny or anything from the Department of Treasury. They actually allocated funds to certain nonprofits. It was done.
The best practice is that you do it, the way the final rule identifies you doing it is this way, through a competitive grant process. I can't speak to other counties or cities that we as iParametrics don't represent. You know, they may or may not be doing it one way. I can't speak to if that's the correct way of doing it. All I can do is tell you what the final rule states and what the best practice is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Ms. C. Well, it's just one last final question. This board can change what we said, and you know, you can do it. Made 3 simple majority, 3-2 vote. But what about what we had said? The reason why we gave each commissioner from the very get-go, and interim county manager Sam was here, and we hadn't hired y'all yet, was to make sure that the underserved areas got served. That's why we allocated. Well, district commissioner could allocate this money within his district, at least this $1 million, not the other $6 million, in his district to make sure that those people got service in their districts. Now we're about to make a U-turn and say, well, hey, don't forget about that. We're going to, a lot of these folks that we told we were going to do this to, and I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not even not going to support it because I don't want to lie, because we've been telling too many lies up here. And I'm not going to be a liar. You know, there's one thing I'm not going to give account of, is telling lies to the citizens of Newton County. So I believe, and this is being found saying, Mr. Chair, is that either you're a man or woman or you're word or you're not. Thank you.
All in favor? Any, yeah, that was a motion. Any opposed? Any opposed? It passed 4-1. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Okay. He raised his hand late. It passed 5-1.
Mr. Chairman, The last item on the agenda for, well, actually, the next item on the agenda, excuse me, is number 18, alcohol beverage license. It's the first reading. Convenience Stores Incorporated, DBA JB Potts, 15524 Highway 36, Covington, Georgia. Licensee Kenneth Johnson of District 1.
Thank you. That's the first reading. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. This opportunity that we allow citizens to make comments. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. You may comment this time. You have 3 minutes to do so.
Live on Dry Pine Road. Looking in the paper, August 20th to 21st. I told y'all this was going to happen. Y'all going to settle these 2 lawsuits. You costed the taxpayers a little over $1 million. You say that your insurance company is going to pay it, but in turn, the insurance company is going to raise y'all's rate, and the taxpayer is going to have to pay this money. Just like if Mr. Sims, y'all get rid of him, he's going to turn around and sue you. You get rid of him before his contract's up, he's going to sue. Now, I don't blame him. It's costing the taxpayers over $1 million, and I'm just shocked at this whole board. Y'all ain't working for the people, you're working for yourselves. Start working for the people. That's all I got.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Anyone else? Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've only got some comments about our wetland mitigation or the purchase of wetland credits. We may have a solution here in Newton County. I had a sidebar with our county manager earlier on, and I got somebody I want to put him in touch with that we may have revenue opportunities here in Newton County for wetland credits, wetland bank ourselves. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to bring up, I got an opportunity to go to Palm Beach County, Florida last week with the Economic Mobility Leadership Network through the National Association of Counties. There are only 3 commissioners from the state of Georgia that have actually been selected to be a part of this leadership cohort. And so I was honored to be a part of it. Newton County, Fulton County, and Cobb County are represented here in the state of Georgia for that. And so when I went to Palm Beach County, Florida, we got an opportunity to really look at some things on how to really mobilize and revitalize a community. This was a desolate community for a while, and then back in the 1960s, they made a decision that they really wanted to make a change and turn the tide. And so really looking at the housing crisis, they sat down with developers, created types of affordable housing, senior housing. They even created something that I had never heard of when it comes to zoning, and that's agricultural reserve. And so when you look at ag reserve, it is just set aside for farming. They utilize that farming to really generate revenue for the community. They looked at a lot of all the way to Orlando, to Miami, to Fort Lauderdale, and cut the time in half. They really did a great job with implementing that within their community. And that's what I love the most about really working with other counties. They came together to really decide how we're going to economically develop this state as a whole with a lot of the larger counties. They even looked at water services, which we do a great job here in Newton County with our water services. And so it was a great, great experience. And so I'm going to really start having a follow-up conversation with Mr. Sims to kind of see what we can begin to implement and take away what value take away from going there. We do have a couple more that we're going to go to at the beginning of next year. The beautiful thing about this program is the Gates Foundation actually pays for it 100%. And so it's not coming out of the county's money for my travel or any of that. The Gates Foundation pays for it 100%. So it's a great opportunity to be able to go to other communities, see what they're doing to really mobilize their community and bring it back to Newton County to see what we can incorporate to really help take our community to another level. And so I just wanted to share that with everybody to let them know that your commissioner in District 2 is working. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, sir. I wasn't going to mention the lawsuit, but after seeing the videos that were deemed as discrimination, I knew something wasn't right. You had to watch the entire video, which was almost 30 minutes long, and I was deemed for saying one word: demographics. I'm a marketing professor and wrote college textbooks. In every college textbook across the United States, the word demographics is in that book. It does not mean a specific race. It means psychographics, culture, youth, various things. And if you watch that one video, they said I deemed as discrimination. It mentioned knowledge. So what boggled my mind in regards to this lawsuit is that they were trying to find something. There were only 2 videos that were found. The other thing that boggled my mind was that I was told that a job was promised to someone before I came on board, and I was not aware. Number one, you should not promise any job to anybody if they didn't go through the full procedures or the proper channels to seek the job. So that, number one, is an issue. Now, I did not speak to my colleagues to find out if that was true or was allegedly done, but that was in the lawsuit saying that the job was promised to the previous county attorney. The commissioners not once interviewed none of the 19 candidates that applied for county manager. That's not our job. We only received the top 3, nor did we interview the 7 that applied for county attorney. We only received the top 2. So how did we discriminate? The issue that I have here is that, as I stated earlier, decisions are being made and our names are being thrown out there for things that we have not done. So one video does not determine that somebody is racist or discriminatory when you only found one word, especially if you don't know the person. And I do ask of this board to speak the truth, because when they told us who said we discriminated against the individuals, it was also a shocker, because the attorney was also shocked and said, what type of board do y'all have up here at Newton County? So I say to the citizens of Newton County, I do apologize that you had to go through this issue. But I also say that we, when we seek in these policies, to make sure that we have clauses in place that protects not only the citizens of Newton County, but protects the officials that are also out there fighting for our citizens every day. Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pretty sure that nobody probably wants to hear what I have to say. The fact that my name was, as I said earlier, was in the newspaper. And it said J.C. Henderson, Commissioner, District 2 Commissioner DeMond, and Commissioner Sanders, District 3 Commissioner. And the only thing I've asked is to show me how I discriminate against someone, especially Lord. I had lost confidence in lawyers ever since the splash, I think 2004 splash, or at least one of the latter splash, whereas they had said the splash and impact fee money hadn't been commingled. I learned a few years later, still on the board, that the money had been repaid back. In fact, our finance director, she told us when we were among the horseshoe. And I asked a question. The question that I asked was, how can you pay back money that y'all tell me that y'all never did get? In other words, what it was supposed to be, they were supposed to put in separate accounts. You're not supposed to put it all together. And so I went to the clerk, Jackie Smith, and asked her to send an email to Lord Kerr and asked him who gave him the authority as county manager to take money and then pay it back. I said, I never seen that go before the board. And I think I read some email back, some I think to the effect saying, well, it's beyond statute of limitation, I'll have to tell you. So this way before this came up, I had lost confidence in him because, and excuse me, ladies, and I said it once before, I didn't say excuse me, so I do apologize. When you tell me a lie, I lose confidence and I won't support you. And that will happen. And so when Patrick, our county attorney right here, told us that we didn't have to, he said, just don't vote on it. But what I didn't know at the time, it was that Patrick had recused himself. So we didn't even have a lawyer, tell the truth. And so what the travelers insurance lawyer told us, if they paid the suit, it was the insurance money, because they dropped the insurance policy you just heard. Who paid the insurance money said, I've never known a top official of the county to say that his commissioner discriminated against somebody, telling our insurance company, in essence, and from my perspective, what I thought, pay him. So, you know, so the only thing I said was, if you're gonna use my name on something, show me, I think I have that right, show me where I discriminated against somebody. And I've been discriminated against, because I was born and raised right here when the skinhead drug, when my mama drove me from the square all the way back home on Sand Hill. So I've been discriminated against. And even in the school, with the old used books and stuff. So I know about discrimination. And what they said about me, it was not right. And for a promise a job, a county attorney or the county manager, hey, they're from year to year. And the board, not the chairman, not the employees, the board is the one who keep those. They're supposed to serve at the pleasure of the board. Thank you.
Commissioner Cowell. Thank you, sir. There is a need for executive session tonight. Proposed discussion of land acquisition. So I need a motion that we move into executive session.
Come on.
The motion by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. All in favor? We stand in executive session. And guys, also, we will not be taking any action tonight. Oh, I'm good. I appreciate it. Thank you.